I was watching, I'm not a big fan of Blaire White, and I'll explain why. Blaire White is exactly what I thought he was. People that don't know who Blaire White is a transgendered female, meaning a man that has had most of their body made to appear as though it's that of a woman's. And basically, they're a plant. They are a radical leftist plant spouting pretty words for conservatives to hear. But what it was is I found out because Blaire White was bragging about, I think it was this anorexic chick about how Jacqueline Glenn tried to save this person's life and they're friends with Jacqueline Glenn. Anybody that's friends with Jacqueline Glenn is an anti-American, period. And I'm going to get into why. Jacqueline Glenn is against freedom of expression. She's against freedom of speech. And her reasoning for this is she doesn't like the fact that other people think the way that family members of her thought when she was younger. Now, what do I mean by that? Or why am I saying this? Many people probably don't remember her anymore, but during the height of the alt-right, there was a girl calling herself a National Socialist. She's nothing now. Her name was Evalion. Her actual name is Veronica Bouchard. And she was a Canadian chick. I think she was like 17 or 18 at the time. I think she was actually 17 at the time. And that dude, Onision, is the reason she got destroyed because he called his horde of preteen girls out to eradicate her. But Jacqueline Glenn made a video about her. Now, Evalion's videos were great. She was basically 3/4 troll, 1/4, I'm going to educate you. It was the right mix of absolutely bonkers content that was so offensive you had to pay attention to it. And it would get people to listen because, especially the pervo dudes that were into that type of thing. They'd watch her and they'd be like, wow, she might be right about something. And her channel was excellent. Now, she eventually did become a more leftist-leaning National Socialist, called herself a Strasserist, and then she became a communist, and now she's a nothingist. I follow her on Instagram, actually. She has a private account, so she has to approve your following. Her and I both followed each other on Twitter. She didn't like that I viewed a lot of the pornography on Twitter. She found it offensive, so she unfollowed me in a little bit. But ultimately, how was I going to say this? What Jacqueline Glenn's issue is what my issue with Jacqueline Glenn is Jacqueline Glenn ripped apart Evalion and you can watch the video because the video is in the description, rips this girl apart because she has opinions similar to her grandfather. That's the only basis. She doesn't care if the girl's telling the truth or not. She just says, oh my God, she's a monster because she thinks like my family, which shows how unobjective and how emotionally Jacqueline Glenn thinks. She's a complete idiot. And originally I was drawn to Jacqueline Glenn because she, very briefly, because she seemed to be reasonable. And then I started watching her other videos, and Jacqueline Glenn is the epitome of radical leftist atheism, the religion of radical leftist atheism, as per Richard Dawkins, okay? That is what she is. She is a religious atheist, okay? And she spreads her gospel of, homosexuality and, whatever's weird. And, I thought it was funny. She had an interview with a couple of fat lesbians that were Wiccans. Now, what's funny is this is the thing with these atheist types. They're anti-Christian, but yet they're not against other groups of people that believe in stuff just as kooky as the Christians. And why are they against the Christians? Because Christianity is the basis of what they consider the basis of Western civilization. They're against Christian values. They're against everything that makes society work right. But what's funny is, as secular humanists, they then try to throw back in people's faces their hypocrisy when really they're the hypocritical ones. And that's what I find interesting about Jacqueline Glenn. But in her Black Lives Matter video, she is basically begging Black Lives Matter to forgive her, and she just sounds really pathetic about how she thinks that she might have a right because even though she's white, blah 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 blah. Meanwhile, she eviscerated Avalion. Now, what's the difference between Avalion and Black Lives Matter? Well, as far as I know, Avalion never killed anybody. As far as I know, Avalion never set fire to any buildings in the United States. As far as I know, Avalion never tore down public property like statues and destroyed it. As far as I know, Avalion never behaved like ISIS, like Black Lives Matter does. Okay? So that's the big difference. All Avalion did was speak her mind on YouTube back when you could get away with a little bit more than you can now. And you can't get away with the stuff that you used to be able to get away with. And I think if I can find it, I'll leave a link to Onision, his crybaby, wah, 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 I don't like this girl because she's a racist. She's a racist. Well, at least she's not a pedophile. Okay? That's what she has going for her. Avalion's not a pedophile like, Onision. But my point is that Black Lives Matter is a danger to this republic. It's a danger to white people. It's a danger to black people. It's a danger to children. And then you have people like Jacqueline Glenn supporting it and lambasting and claiming to be free for freedom of expression, freedom of speech, blah, 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 blah. Same thing with Onision. Freedom of expression, freedom of speech, unless you hate. If you hate, you have no right to express your freedom of speech because that's wrong. Wah, 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 wah. Meanwhile, it's just utterly ridiculous. Now, getting back to the Blaire White thing. As I said, he is a transgendered woman that has altered their appearance to look like a woman, but, obviously is chromosomally a man, and pretends to be conservative. Now, this is exactly the same thing I said about that jackass, Milo Yiannopoulos, who also admitted to supporting the rape of children. Everybody let that fall by the wayside. There was one jackass in my local area, I forget his name. Rich Zeoli. Rich Zeoli is the talk show host. And I told him on Twitter, I said, if you really want to be fair, because he let Milo Yiannopoulos on to talk about how Milo was saying that it's justifiable to screw children, which is what he actually said in an interview. Okay. And he let him on to say that, we want to hear his side of the story. Didn't want to hear Avalion's side of the story. But he wanted to hear Milo's because Milo was a gay Jewish Catholic. And that is how I knew. Everybody was telling me I'm too hard on the guy back at the height of the alt-right, when the alt-right was getting popular. And, there were people like me that were National Socialists that were warning these kids that were falling for all this bullshit, all this hyper-religious bullshit, because a lot of the alt-right, it was about re-embracing this Catholic crap and re-embracing this Eastern Orthodox Christian crap and re-embracing these supposedly bases of Western values, which actually predate Christianity, by the way. But a lot of it was about re-embracing all this happy horse shit. And a lot of us that were, actual National Socialists were warning these children, these young adults, these people that were like 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, what have you, that this was all a sham and that it was going to backfire. And it did. But how would anybody know that Milo Yiannopoulos was a piece of crap? Well, let's see. He's a gay Catholic Jew. Well, you can't be any one of those things if you're any other one of those things. So it sounds to me like he's being dishonest with the public about where he stands. He also came out, like I said, and supported the rape of children. I mean, and these are, and well, which goes with being Catholic, I presume, and also with the other thing that I can't say. But so apparently, yes, it goes with being Catholic, supporting the rape of children. But the point that I'm making is that anybody that fell for this, and the same thing with like Jordan Peterson, everybody fell in love with Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson says the things that need to be said. Where was he back in the frickin' late 70s and early 80s when David Duke was saying the things that need to be said? Oh, that's right, he was a frickin' liberal. Or what about that other gentleman? What's his name? Oh my God, the guy that founded the frickin' what do they call them? The boys, oh my God, the I'm a boy movement or whatever the hell it is, Proud Boys. That guy, the frickin' I forget it. Oh my God, I can't believe I don't remember. I did a video about him. The idiot, the Irish idiot from Canada that founded that, the punk rocker. If I remember, I'll leave a link in the description to my video about him. But I mean, you got the Proud Boys. You know, how does the alt right not see that this is phony? The alt right is an entire sham that is supported by the radical left to make people look badly, to make white people look badly. And everybody fell for it. And actually, what's funny, as much as I didn't like Richard Spencer, I have to give the dude credit. He broke with it and started supporting sensible politics and sensible, more moderate views that are more healthy for the United States. Like a National Socialist would, not like an alt-righter would, because he was concerned about the health and welfare of the United States and realized, if Trump won a second term, this country might not exist. Right now, this country might not exist. Biden is doing a decent job, but he's not doing a good job. And that's the whole thing, is the country will crumble. It will crumble if there is not good action taken. Goodly action, as they would say in Plymouth. My point is there is not hardline action. The hardline action that needs to be taken against the insurrectionists is not being taken. And for people to say they don't know what the motivations were, for example, in the Dallas police shooting, where the dude said flat out that he wanted to kill white people, and he especially wanted to kill white cops. That was the Black Lives Matter shooter that shot the police in Dallas. For people to say that they, for example, a certain group of people, that might get food at a kosher market, they'll blow out of proportion. They act like white people are attacking them like crazy. It's not white people. It's black people attacking them like crazy. And if you don't talk about this, it's just going to keep happening, because that's just the way it goes. You have Jewish people in New York City that are using the opportunity of being victimized by blacks to try and remind black people that somehow they have a great history with black people. No, they don't. The Jewish history with black people was the support of the transatlantic slave trade. I mean, and that's the thing, is what people aren't getting is, this is a mess, and people like Jacqueline Glenn are the problem. People like Blaire White are the problem. When I saw I started watching some of Blaire White's videos. I haven't really, years ago, again, back at the height of the alt-right, there was a chick from Thailand that turned me on to Blaire White, and I didn't take it. I'm like, well, this doesn't seem right. This seems a little weird to me, but okay. If you like it, watch it. Now, Thailand, they got a lot of lady boys, so maybe that's why it wasn't abnormal for a Thai alt-righter to be watching something of that nature and, syncing with it. But to me, I mean, it was bullshit from the beginning. It's bullshit. It was bullshit in the during the height of the alt-right movement, and it's bullshit now. Jacqueline Glenn is bullshit. And for people to say And I agree with this. I don't attack anybody for their political views. I can be friends with liberals. I can be friends with communists. I can be friends with far right people. I can be friends with alt right people. I can be friends with Christians. I can be friends with Jews. I can be friends with Muslims. I've had a multitude of friends throughout the years of many different ideologies, both religious, political, etc. It doesn't bother me. I'm not anti anyone, really. But the fact of the matter is, anyone that can call themselves, in favor of, these conservative viewpoints, and is transgendered, and is a friend of somebody like Jacqueline Glenn that is essentially the enemy of people with those views, needs to come out and admit they're full of shit, flat out. Or at the very least, they're very confused, which wouldn't surprise me if Blaire White was very confused, because after all, they're a dude that had their external characteristics changed into a female bodysuit like Marilyn Manson wore in Mechanical Animals. So I can understand that Blaire White might be confused, might not understand things in a healthy way, might be a little bit crazy, might be, not right in the head, and Jacqueline Glenn is crazy. If you don't believe me, just watch the video I linked or both the videos of hers I linked in the description, and you will see they're nuts. The fact that Blaire White would support somebody like Bruce Jenner for the governorship of the governorship of California tells you all you need to know about Blaire White, and the fact that they're an anti-American, basically an anti-American agent. Whether they know it or not, that's what they're doing. Anyone that supports Bruce Jenner is an anti-American agent. Anyone that supports the values of Bruce Jenner or the values of Jacqueline Glenn or supports them in any way, shape, or form is an anti-American agent. That is what's going on. Jacqueline Glenn supports Black Lives Matter, which is an anti-American terrorist organization. And that's all for this video.